Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's astrologer Eric Rosen for your astrology horoscope for January of 2024. We're here. We made it. We made it into 2024. It is going to be a crazy pants type of year. Um, I mean, aren't they all kind of lately with this astrology, with everything that we've been going through collectively, especially since 2019, 2020? This year's no different. It's just got different shades of how the craziness goes down. But, craziness can be a good thing. It can shake things up a little bit, spread the love, spread the magic around in order to create cracks in the concrete, if you will, in order for us to spread that beautiful magic that we all have. And that's actually what I really wanted to cover in this month's horoscope. Is about finding your magic. It's about dropping the very limited beliefs of who you're not. I mean, this is time. I'm speaking specifically to the people listening to this. Like, if you have not launched into your gifts yet, if you're not sure what those are, if you're not taking the steps, if you're still holding yourself back in a belief system or excuses of why you can't do it, it's time to stop. My divine masculine is coming out saying it's time to kick some doors down. It's time to stop looking for the little key, the whether it's the easy way to do it or the blessing of a romantic partnership that you're in, or some money situation to come through. It's time to just be in the vortex of the beautiful blessings and divine nature that we truly are. It's time to wake up out of any final remaining matrix prisons that we put ourselves in and design our avatar and actually go and be that thing. And so that's what I want to speak to, is like, it's dodging the bullets of, thoughts or projections of others or beliefs, or even just the moment you fire at yourself internally, which, would be called friendly fire. It's like shooting at your own teammate, where you're throwing these bullets, shooting these bullets, and cutting yourself down on why you can't do these things. And so this month's horoscope is designed to wake you up and to wake you up into your gifts, into actually going and, concreting your legacy with that. It's a big deal, especially with Pluto at the end of Capricorn. But I want to cover this, of course, sun sign astrology wise, your sun rising sign for your zodiac. So, of course, we are going to start with Aries. Aries, I know that it has been a beautiful time of healing for you since 2019. It's been awesome sauce, if you've allowed yourself to still show up even when you're wounded. But it's also not expecting people to see you in a certain way, especially with Chiron direct now. I think the best thing you can do for yourself in terms of creation, money situations, of understanding like what is the gift and the skill set that you're actually going to put out there, to take the wounds that you've been understanding very deeply about yourself, to actually bring that into it. Make that very much a part of like your legacy of what you're going to especially be putting out into the collective most of this year, especially when Pluto's in Aquarius, and that starts January 20th. It's definitely about, can you stand tall in your power? Did you learn what belief systems weren't working for you, to like get rid of those, and to see that like it's not going to get any easier in terms of any parts of yourself or your headstrong nature that you like to be, Aries, where you're not feeling the strongest in that. Those sensitivities are still going to be there, but it's like, make that a part of your avatar, make that a part of your skill set, your offerings, like whatever it is that you're putting out into the world that's making a much more beautiful, better place. Aries, you're in a prime position this year to really make some shit happen, shake some things up. And it's not by being the traditional Aries version of yourself. It's definitely still learning how to connect with people. It's definitely very much about going like, okay, like, you don't need to be the lone wolf. You still got to find ways to fit together with groups of people and work together and then like get along with others. But I think where you're able to humble yourself to like get along with others and make things happen is by not pretending that those sensitivities and wounds aren't there, and just being honest about what makes you human. Aries, and there actually can be really beautiful storytelling and what you bring to the table, and that natural human nature that people see. I think they're going to want to bring you more forward into the places that you can fit into. So it's like being okay with being humbling about like how it looks or where you fit in, and seeing that it's more about like making the whole thing for the whole collective and the group and the community work, as opposed to like your own ego's identifications of how you think it should look. That's what you've been learning about very deeply, is like, where do you fit in the world? And so now it's time to actually take that to a more prominent place and actually be like, okay, like I can make this happen in my career. I can make this happen with my finances and the creations and the people situations. Definitely humble nature, but it doesn't mean that, it's almost like your version, Aries, of not believing in yourself and hiding in a matrix pod is thinking that you have to be a certain way as an Aries. It's kind of like throw out all the qualities that you think that you're supposed to be in the astrology handbook of what it says to be an Aries, and just like show up in the understanding of like being the healer that just is very, you understand like what needs to happen, Aries, you know how to make it happen. So moving on to Taurus. This is definitely going to be a time for connection. That continues to be a theme, Taurus, but you can't be scared. You can't be hiding in your old wounds and still trying to identify with those and thinking that, it's almost like questioning, like, did I free myself from my matrix pod? And it's like, yeah, you did. You might be hanging on some rungs a little bit, or, maybe sometimes relying on other people or trying to have a belief system get you to the magic, but it's not really going to work that way, Taurus. It's going to be way more about, seeing like what it is that you can do in your career, and, the magic of God and the divine, and like making things happen. I think that, you almost have to be okay with not relying so much on people to inform you about what to do with your life, and being more poetic in the sense, and this, even the sensitivity of seeing who you're not, and being in that kind of silent, meditative like space, and then to actually like take that out to the world. It's kind of a weird thing, but it's like being a little like Nikolai Tesla like, and it's like, don't touch me, let me be in my own bubble and my own vibration and connect to God in meditation, and then go birth the beautiful creations. It's like, it didn't work out for Tesla, but that's not saying that's going to happen for you, Taurus, with all his, inventions, his novelties. But it's like, there was something to say, like, what if he would have had all these doubts and, funneled them through people first, and like got the contamination of his ideas and his efforts, right? Like, it's like he would get it channeled from the divine first, and then he would go, and then he would get the feedback in terms of like the reality of what he could create. So it's almost like being your own majesty of your heart first, Taurus, and like the boundless nature of what it is that you can create, because, a lot of the boundlessness is you. And then go share your ideas and get the feedback from people, and then like let them question, well, what about this thing, or what about this thing, or how are you going to make this work? And then you take that and you show appreciation for it, and then you can go back and do some more channeling again. And then if people are buying into your ideas, that you're magnetizing your creations and people want to be involved, okay, cool, you're on the right track. But if you're going and you're sharing your ideas and it's not resonating with people, maybe it's a time for you to ask them questions, like, well, hey, what do you think about this? Is there a reason, that you're not engaging in this? It's a good time to get feedback, like even if you have to ask for it, Taurus, because, the tough part about these transits that you're going through is that you can have beautiful, wonderful ideas about who you are and what you can, create, and the healing element that you can bring from the past travesties, hardships, traumas that you've been through, and really do big stuff with that. But there is still got to be the reality to it a little bit. That's the tough thing about Jupiter and Uranus being in your sign. It's like, it's can kind of like try to lift the island off the map a little bit, and there's like no way off of it. It's like, you don't want to cut off all your exits like from people with your ideas and get so certain about how things are going to go. It's just like, get your ideas, speak the magic, express that beautiful magic of what it is that you see, and like see how it fits in the parts of the outer reality, especially people, because you're going to need people to carry out your creation. So this is definitely a genuine time, Taurus, to be in brainstorming mode about who you are and what you can accomplish, and look high and low for what that is, to still keep your feet on the ground, to where, you're not cutting out your stability. You need that, Taurus, but also look at the steps of what you can take higher. People are definitely going to fit into that. And so I would definitely, especially, receive the positive feedback to boost your confidence, Taurus, to like keep going, because it can be hard to, like, if you lose momentum and lose your confidence, to get going again. You want to keep it going. And if you get the negative feedback, it's just like not getting too butthurt, getting too sensitive about it, and just have an understanding, a discernment. If you are triggered and it's like something about your creation, try to understand where that person's coming from too, before you start internalizing it as like, oh, why is this triggering me? It's like, you don't want to keep rehashing your triggers over and over again, Taurus. It's creation mode time. It's much better, art to, find the peace in things, and, if there's disagreements with people, and just, find out just how is it benefiting what you're creating, which it's not meant to be selfish. It's just the understanding that you have things that you're creating for your world, and that not everyone's going to fit into that world, Taurus. So moving on to Gemini. Gemini, you definitely, this is a time to strike while the iron's hot, strike with lightning this month. I feel like it's especially, potent that Jupiter going direct here as we start the year is definitely going to be about, do you really have a fundamental belief in the divine, Gemini? Do you really believe that you can have the big world and all the manifestations that you want? This past 4 months has been about you reviewing, like, how to, like, take a better approach to your spiritual reality of creation, and actually believing in the divine being on your side to make that happen. Definitely need people, that's going to continue to be a theme for a lot of signs, but community, connection are important. Definitely got to know your value systems. You got to pump yourself up in terms of, knowing your worth, knowing your value, those sort of value exchanges, and the beliefs will be very important, Gemini. I think that, you don't want to think too big, because then that almost brings up too many questions about too many details. And I know you like the details, Gemini, but it's almost like, be okay with like a little bit of like the humbling, belief in like what can be accomplished. This reminds me of like, you might get the big vision of what you can accomplish, but it's a confidence killer if you think that a 12-year plan can be done in 12 months. So it's like, have the confidence of like, okay, God's trusting me to carry out this big master plan of his, but then like look at like kind of the reality of like, there's a lot of little steps that have to happen in order to create that, and kind of have, what's the bare minimum that you can accomplish, Gemini, on a day-to-day basis. It's not overtaxing, your life, your schedule, your duties, that even on your days when, you're not feeling your best, and because there is, dualistic side to you, like heads or tails. It's like, and you're on your tail side and you're just not having your best day, what can you still get done so that, I'd say it, but you don't feel like a piece of shit, Gemini, because you got this big vision, there's these great things you can do, but then you're not doing them. It's like there is a sense of holding yourself accountable to get the bare minimum done, and just, create some of that momentum, because the most important thing for your momentum, Gemini, for your creation, and, breaking out of, I would say the matrix prison for you is like, thinking that too much can be done in a year, is, the sacred reverence for, hey, God Spirit, I do believe I can carry out this vision. So yeah, I'm going to do a little bit every day. And it's kind of like your offering at the altar, so to speak. Sort of like, kind of like a sacrifice in a weird way, where it's like, do the 3 things that make you feel the most positive, even if it is a little stressful. Make it a positive form of stress, eustress, to where it's not like depleting you, and actually giving back to you a little bit, and then reflect and the accomplishments every day, Gemini, and appreciate the wins. And trust me, like, the beauty isn't even going to be so much, I think, most of this year about the actual creations themselves, but about the karma yoga aspect of things, of like the spiritual nature of the sacred art of creation that can carry out through your lifetime, to where you learn to master these principles of the up and down mundaneness of life, and this masterfulness of creation, where you don't let negativity or just things slow you down and bog you down and think that it's a bad thing. It's like with this Jupiter Uranus, it's especially going to meet in the spring in your 12th. Definitely don't want to go into negative, chaotic belief systems that it's all tanking, because you don't have the momentum. It's like, just do the little things and create the spiritual momentum in yourself, and you transform yourself, like how you're interacting with people, the spiritual beliefs especially, and even then, like when things are on more even terrain, like, cool, you've mastered it. This is like getting a weird blend of like boot camp and Jedi training, and then also still getting the epiphany moments, and still getting to create and still have the things that you want to have. It's just like, don't think that it's going to be the creation itself that like saves the boat, and just be on the boat and let spirit guide you and be the lighthouse, Gemini. So when it comes to Cancers is definitely a good time for your ambitions, your career, your goals. Definitely think you don't want to limit yourself, I think, so much to, I would say, the SMART goals aspect of things. That could almost be like your limiting factor. It's like, sure, create, these realistic, measurable, time-oriented goals. But remember, like, it's not impractical to like let a little bit of logic go, Cancer, and like follow the mystery of things, and actually use some of like your, Kundalini energy to kind of like be the thing that kind of like ramps you up and gets you through your day with, good energy, and then knowing how to ramp that energy down by the end of the day. And it's like not using the mind so much and trying to like figure out too many things. Like, it could be like conflicting ideas about how to accomplish your goals. It's almost like, don't try to look for the perfect formula right now, Cancer. The simplicity is actually in the fear, of not being so much in the mind and the rationale, and actually going in and using your life force energy and the mystery of life, the mystical unknown element of things, following the trail of your desires. It's checking in with yourself literally every few minutes and asking yourself, how do I feel about this thing that I'm doing? Is it still desirable? Is it filling me up? And if it's not, then why the fuck are you doing it, Cancer? And then you might name all these different things. Well, it's like, oh, well, all these things have to get done or I won't get to the thing. And it's like, bullshit, Cancer. It's like, sorry, pardon my French, but it's like, you need to bring this sexual component to the table, that life force energy. It doesn't have to be sex specifically. Let's not look at it like that. It can be, but it's more so like the art of creation, the art of manifestation, the art of magnetizing and understanding your goals at like a deeper level, and then getting like the spiritual guidance and advice to come in and support you. So, it's a good time to fly high, Cancer. I mean, I think breaking out of the matrix for you and the beliefs of any limitations is definitely going to look like taking flight, even if it feels like you're not ready. And believe it or not, like, even if you do fall, Cancer, like, you're not going to fall all the way back to the place that you started from on whatever goals, endeavors that you're going on. It's like you might feel like you're being a little foolish, following just your desires and not trying to understand things so much. But, even if you did fall, it's like you're not falling back to the ground. There's still a trampoline effect. There's still something to catch you. And just trust that if you go back down there, you just maybe reached a limit or a boundary with a certain thing, or you had to go back down for a lesson. It's like, treat it more like Chutes and Ladders in life a little bit, Cancer. I mean, you want that more than you want like dwelling on how difficult things are, how complex things are, or, how much fear or like money, is a factor. It's just, you just kind of just go on the trail. It's just going on the trail, Cancer. And honestly, your biggest, I feel like your biggest pet peeve right now might actually be finance, and receiving enough. And it's like, that's going to be your key indicator to see if there's any feelings of like not enoughness on like some like resource level. It's like, that's where you're not tapping into the resourcefulness of your life force energy and directing it very magnetically to the things that you actually desire, and kind of like leapfrogging over some of the steps that you think that you have to plan out to try to like work around, that maybe traps your mind sometimes, and seeing you can leapfrog those just by using this more mystical, intuitive sense of yourself, of your desires. So moving on to Leos. Leo, I mean, definitely a time to reflect on the belief system. Is it working for you? Is it getting you to your goals? How's the relationships going? Is it causing disharmony or disarray, imbalance issues? Do you feel like you still have autonomy like in your life? Is I think a big one, Leo. You've made some big commitments, and that's a good thing. You're expanding your life, rightfully so, Leo. We need you as the king and queen that you are. And, but it's like still have fun, like speak your truth, be direct. I think you're doing a pretty good job, Leo. I just think that, you just want to make sure that the continuous nature for you is almost like checking in with the belief and like any reactions that you're maybe having to the challenges that you're butting up against, whether that's career, your relationships, trying to be diplomatic, addressing career situations, and just paying attention to the reactions and any negative vibrations come up, and almost like notice that that's your litmus test to be like, what belief is playing out here? Leo, you guys have been doing a really good job these past few years at chucking out the dirty laundry that can't be cleaned of belief systems that don't matter. And you're pretty good about knowing you don't really have to rummage through them. But this is kind of a time where you're getting down to, I think, a little bit of the finer details of, okay, maybe you've chucked the belief and you have the theoretical understanding, but now it's going to be a little bit about the practical nature of like the integration of it, and still like catching like, when are those things coming up? When are those old beliefs still kind of like lingering around, like, hey, you haven't fed me in a while, kind of like weird creepy energy. And it's like you play exterminator by going more into unconditional love for any triggers or challenges that are coming up, and just kind of accepting them from where they're at, but not in like a defeated, oh, I have to accept this, but like a cool, I'm going to alchemize this through unconditional love, that it's part of the trail, it's part of the big life, the big reality, the big goals and career destined aspects that you have for yourself, Leo. And then, because the more that you trip out on things that happen and create a negative momentum of a belief system, the more you end your days in sorrow or start your next days. And you might not even notice it's happening, because you might be cheerleading yourself because you're good at that, Leo, about staying in high spirits and not getting down. But it's like you're still in this reality with the rest of us, where it's like shit gets hard, and so it's like it's okay to be vulnerable and talk about it if it intuitively comes up to talk about it. But also there's a good vulnerability too in shining, Leo, and like talking about, hey, this was the trigger, this was what came up, this is where I had my belief from my perspective, and I was kind of being the Leo and just, pushing back or whatever it is, and then actually finding some like humble pie, humble nature, and going, actually, I had this very beautiful healing experience where I saw there was a belief playing out that didn't need to play out anymore. And then I didn't have to fight with that person or cause disharmony or have a disagreement. And I don't really, maybe you don't know how it's valuing yourself yet, but it's like maybe the value is just your peace, in order to like not have so much stressed out energy. Is this can be one of the most stressful times in your life, depending on how you play your cards. Leo is Pluto's finishing up the end of Capricorn in your 6th, and so it's like the day-to-day reality. You don't need to get stressed out and trip out. So I think freeing yourselves, Leo, from the beliefs and stepping up into who you really are is just definitely not letting people tell you who you are. You're a Leo, you're pretty good at that. And if there's some pushback, just noticing, you know, the belief that you think that you have to wield and how you respond to the people, you know, to defend yourself. The more cutthroat it is, the more that could be the limiting factor, where you're not seeing the true brightness of what you can be in your full potential, Leo. And I think that's really just your authentic self, because remember, at the core, at the heart of Leo energy is most definitely love. Always comes back to love, Leo. Loving yourself and others. So Virgo, this is definitely a mystical time for you, but are you paying attention to it? I know you're the analytical type Virgo, and you might want to like look at your beliefs as something that keeps you more solid, to where you don't have to deal with the uncertainty or the fears that come up, and that maybe you're trying to understand how to have a more exciting reality and to use the beliefs to, you know, create with that. I think there's a little bit of a tandem of understanding. It's a mix of unknown, of, you know, the unknown of what you don't know, and then also the unknown of like, yeah, there's stuff that you know that you don't know. I think that really, Virgo, the best way to play this is structuring your day-to-day reality in such a way that you start to take more daily steps, and making sure that you're not being, you know, lazy about it or getting stressed about it, because I know it's easy to happen, Virgo. Sometimes it can be, you know, overanalyze things, and that's okay. No need to trip out about that, but it's going into, okay, let me explore what I know that I don't know and learn from that. And then you get closer to what you don't know that you don't know. And the reason that that's good to do is, A, you're just going to feel more of a quality reality that you're getting stuff done, because you're taking the steps towards the things that you're hearing the gentle calling to go explore. And then you find not only more appreciation for everything and anything going on in your reality, but also you find more power in it too, because you're getting closer to that wide unknown of what you don't know that you don't know. And so it's almost like, you know, you got to take pre-algebra before algebra. The pre-algebra is, I don't know this, let me go learn it. Oh, okay, cool, it got me to algebra. That's where I needed to get to, the unknown. Oh, boom, there's my power. And the reason I say, you know, your power is in the unknown is because, you know, the limitations of what the mind can comprehend defines our reality. So if there's whatever it is that you're desiring, Virgo, that's a greater reality ambition of, you know, just fulfilling the potential desires and things that you want in your life, if it's not working, it's because it's time for an expansion, you know, of your belief set, and maybe your skill set too. But I would say especially like putting your skill set to the experiences in order to believe in yourself, that it's like, oh, I can learn things and create things and find new ways and different ways of changing my reality and doing things. But if that's not working, then you've got to go explore that place that you haven't yet to figure it out. And then you find out things you didn't know. There's power in that. The power lies in the shadows of the unknown, of that darkness, the place that maybe you're afraid to get to, and you don't mentally comprehend, how do I get there? And it's like, well, you just take the next step, Virgo. You just take the next step of like intuitively or rationally, or things that come up in conversation. It's really just about, you know, verbatim, it's kind of like getting the work done, but it's also seeing the bigger picture too, of like the magic of what you're actually doing. You're satisfying your basic physical, practical reality needs and the things that you know that you need to do, but you're just trusting that you're naturally going to become more empowered on the way. And don't try to worry about skipping, you know, all the way to the end of the alphabet to try to, like, you know, it's like trying to learn the Greek alphabet or something, you know, and somehow that universal language is going to like teach you the secrets of the universe or something and how to get everything that you want. It's like, is anything in your life even said, go learn the Greek alphabet? It's like, don't worry about it. It's like, just worry about what's showing up. So moving on to Libras. Libra, is definitely a time to make sure that, how's your communication style in relationships? I'll be really honest, Libra, I could see where maybe you've been trying to keep the harmony and not trigger things by being a little bit more passive and quiet in the things that you're saying. I think that's cool that you're learning a lot about yourself to be a more peaceful human being, but please do not, just because there's sensitivities, abandon the masculine form of expression, which, creates basically boundaries just in terms of the definition of like how you see things, and it doesn't mean that you're attacking other people. Definitely don't do that. It's like, let it be like a healing nature to it. There's a lot of shadow work in this. I'd say it's especially around your romantic unions, your self-love for yourself, valuing yourself, like standing taller in like your emperor or empress kind of vibes. There's definitely some king, queen, boss energy here, and assessing the values too. It's like, if you're feeling unsuccessful in certain areas, I would definitely reflect on, okay, like, well, how's my communication going? Right? Like the limitations, the matrix pod, it's like, I'm not getting to where I want to go, or these same issues in love are coming up, or like, fears around money or resources. It's like, well, check your communication style. Like, are you really getting your point across? If you are, cool, great job, Libra. But that's definitely the biggest thing to look at. There is kind of like a trusting nature that when a king or queen, communicates the boldness to the messenger, hey, go tell that kingdom this, or go, hey, tell them that, a solid king or queen doesn't sit there and be all nervous for the verdict of the exchange that's going to come back, or how that's going to affect each other's like kingdoms. They just find other ways to go about their life. They appreciate the kingdom that they have, the resources that they have. They, find a way to love themselves, enjoy themselves, right? It's like, see that it's just exchanging messages, Libra, and the communication. It's like, you don't have to wait for the verdict or wait for the other message to come back to feel more solid or unafraid or peaceful or loving in your reality. This is definitely about the unknown for you. Looks like, hey, like there's nothing outside of you that you need. It's like, you're solid in yourself, Libra, but the thing that you're learning to reach for is actually being okay in the sensitivity of, if this other person or this other relationship, if it's not the way that you want it to be, that doesn't mean that you have to lose your shit over it. And it's just teaching you to be more solid in yourself, Libra. So I think this learning to fly this month is definitely just being solid in you, just being rock solid in you and the things that you've been learning from life, and to not trip yourself out or get unbalanced just because you think that being worried is like a love language or something, that, it means you don't care if you're not worried. It's like, no, it's not like that, Libra. You're learning a different aspect of yourself, a different side of yourself, that, yeah, you want the peace, the harmony, the sunset vibrations, but you're definitely learning and will continue to learn through this whole year, as you've been learning for pretty much the past 7-8 months, which is that true peace and harmony only comes from actually facing the sensitivities, especially showing up in your communication and your partnerships. So moving on to those Scorpios. Scorpio, you're definitely refining your day-to-day life, your reality. I think your number one job in your schedule, your work life, is, are you keeping up in your communications? Definitely not being someone that's giving excuses too in their communications. And I'm just going to say it, like getting like lazy Scorpio. That's almost like being like, well, okay, I'm in the Matrix pod, but like I'm okay with it. I'm okay with like how things are. And it's like, I don't think that's what you really believe, Scorpio. And I know you might have a good way of cheerleading your mindset to get you out of it, but it's definitely going to be a time where your actions, your day-to-day life speak louder than just like the things that you're saying. It's almost like you don't want to like get all, riled up and saying like, this is the balance and things I'm going to do different in my life, but then like falling and slipping into like some comfort zone. It's more so like, okay, I see it. There's things to be rebalanced. There's changes to make. This is going to create my new foundation. Like, boom, got it. Identify what the new foundation is in your life that you truly desire, that you will not compromise for, Scorpio, and know that like, okay, boom, you've got the vision. Everything after that, every communication, every phone call, every email, every text, every promise, every schedule, work, commitment, everything with your health is plugged into the foundation of what you're promising to yourself that you're going to create. Because, there's nothing worse than a Scorpio that doesn't tell the truth, especially to yourself, Scorpio. It's like, the reason that you have such a strong, intuitive, mystical, nature to you of the truth is because you spot the bullshit easily. And so it's like, be really discerning about seeing the bullshit in yourself and like not trying to blow up some crazy big picture of what you think is going on in partnerships, or like some like deservedness like factor, like without like doing like the work, without like assessing your true emotional state. This can bring up, yes, how's the day-to-day life? Are you on top of stuff? But also like, how's this going to bring up, how's the family situation? How are things getting along there? How's your personal care? Are you making time for that in your day-to-day life? Because you'll show up, your communication will be best, your health will be better, relationships, all of it, if you're making time to take care of yourself in your day-to-day life. If you're skipping those steps though, that's like skipping the law of attraction piece of being in the vibration of the foundation that you promised to yourself that you're going to have. And so I think your intuition will be more discerning about how to like continue to methodically find a way to make your life work efficiently for you on a day-to-day basis, and that'll keep you healthy and sound and focused. It's really going to help the intuition in that form of self-care. So moving on to Sagittarius. Well, Sag, this is definitely a time for love, self-love, fulfilling your own prophecies in terms of, just your day-to-day commitments and the things that you're saying. Basically, it's like you're in a really powerful position where it can be like the things that you say come true, and that can be really cool. There's going to be a sense of reality of like it's coming true, but it's like trusting that it's still in the ethereal quantum field, like truth, right? Like feel it on your heart, like trust like the regal nature that it's like it's there. And trust that, like it's still going to take time. So I will watch your mouth this month, Sagittarius, just because whatever you're speaking is like speaking truth into existence. It's like there is a complete impartiality to spirit in terms of like the message that you're handing off. They're going to hand it off like a baton and assembly line of handing the message down the line, whether that's telepathic to a person or, just like, hey, they want this in their creation, or hey, they have this negative thought. They actually maybe want less money or want this project to be less successful, or they do want to be stressed out, or they want to get sick or whatever, depending on the momentum of like your negative thinking. And so it's a Jekyll Hyde thing where it's like a positive negative, where you've got to watch like your thoughts, especially starting later this month after the 20th. It's definitely, I think it's high time, Sag, too, to like make sure that you've created clear boundaries on like people that just really don't like love you back, and it's like maybe they more adore you or want to adorn you, but like maybe there's not actually like reciprocated love. And I would not be afraid to like throw the simple facts on the table without complicating things too much and be like, hey, I noticed this, and this is happening. Like, do you actually love me? Like, do you actually appreciate me? You know, do you, like want to be a part of my day-to-day life? If not, it's like I've got to rearrange the people that are in my life that you're around every day. That's going to be a big theme playing out for you most of the year, Sagittarius, is you don't want to like get scared and play musical chairs of bringing people back into your life that maybe you booted out, or that you need to boot, or people that you need to bring closer and connect with more. It's like the easiest thing to determine is going to be not so much like letting your mind or your beliefs completely dictate, like, oh, this person matches my power, this person doesn't, or whatever, and like see it as more of like an even playing field, and just like witness people as they're showing up and the vibration that they're in. Are they in their power right now in this conversation? Okay, cool, we can talk. Not so much like being like, well, that one person was having a bad day and they were stressed, and now I can't talk with them. Now I can't like do work with them because they had an off day. And it's like, if that does happen, it's like maybe look in the mirror and make sure there's not like a projection there, because I think the limitations of matrix pod energy is going, okay, thinking too much about who needs to be in my day-to-day life to make it work, where is the love actually at, and going more with like just a really deep, profound, intuitive sense of like it's almost like your affirmation is like the right people are showing up in my life at the right time. Boom, present moment, no questions asked, not looking too far in the peripheral. How are all the players and the pieces fitting together? Can't study 27 different chessboards and all those different 800 different moves at the same time. It's just the one that's presenting to you is, how is this person showing up and defending your territory for saying yes or no is going to be compassionately, not judgmental, but like, is this person reliable? Do they have utility? Are they showing up in their worth and their power and their value? And if okay, cool, go to the next step. Simple. If you continue to see momentum where that's not happening, or you're having an emotional reaction that things are breaking down and you're getting bored or something because people aren't showing up in their power, then I think that's like, did you miss a step or skip a step in your day-to-day life of basically what comes back to self-love and your own creation, and seeing like, well, where in my creation did I maybe accidentally not have integrity and maybe called this in, and it's like, okay, cool, this is just the time to change it and go, okay, well, let me make that crazy change. No, I actually don't want that, and assess it in the mirror. And it can happen really quick and be these epiphany moments once you realize that your reality is really just mirroring back exactly what you've been calling in, really even going back to 2008, if you can believe that. And so I think it's an important time, Sag, to just like, don't trip on whatever feels like it's working, not working. It really goes back to you, your creations, and then the promise and the hope of like knowing like, okay, like I don't need to judge this thing is showing up. It's just a litmus test. It's just a feedback loop for what you've been calling in, depending on how that person is showing up, or groups of people especially. Well, Capricorns, you did it, Caps. You've gotten through the bulk since 2008 of Pluto and Capricorn. It could be soul crushing at times, for sure. A lot of disappointments, a lot of hardships, a lot of things you thought were going to work out, but didn't. But especially as we get to the end of January, right after your birthday, ironically enough, last day is January 19th for Capricorns. January 20th is Aquarius, and that's when Pluto leaves Aquarius. And so funny thing is that every Capricorn is still going to have a solar return chart, which is, your birthday chart for the year, whatever day you were born is Capricorn, of Pluto and Capricorn. So the undertones will still definitely be there. It can feel a little bit like the PTSD of like the Grim Reaper and Capricorn, like challenging things. And in some ways, that's not a bad thing, because it's a less of a surprise when Pluto does dip back into Capricorn. for a couple months, you know, September into November here in 2024. But, you know, at least you're getting a big bulk of the reprieve of Pluto and Aquarius, which basically just means it's going to be a huge focus on your money situation, your foundation, love. You know, Capricorn, I mean, I think this is a really good time to kind of look at, is your self-worth holding you back from having the love that you truly know that you can have and make a part of your foundation? This is definitely, you know, looking at your family life situation. Maybe it hasn't looked the way that you've wanted it to. If it hasn't, maybe there's just some healing to do in those, you know, compartments. And, you know, maybe there's a misidentification of what's been going on emotionally and what you believe you can have family-wise. You've got to love yourself. You've got to have the belief. Pluto is going to come and kick the butt a little bit and be like, hey, like, are you in creation mode and do you know your value? These are transits for Capricorns that are more at the bottom of the zodiac, which isn't bottom negative. It just means it's more about the personal life. It's, you know, Capricorns tend to want to be more about the external reality, the career, business, that sort of thing. This is definitely way more about seeing, okay, I would say the matrix pod is like, yeah, you've got visions, you've got ambitions for this awesome, incredible, loving life, but like, it's like, A, do you love yourself? B, like, is the love that you feel in your heart even a vibrational reflection of these big visions that you have, you know, for whether it's like helping people, like being of service, you know, and looking at like, okay, are there still stuck emotions? Like, that's the key, Capricorn, is like, there's still like a healing of the embedded emotions. And so you can't fly. It's like, to use another Jedi analogy, it's like you can't make a rock fly just by being like, I'm going to make a rock fly. Like, you have to have like the mindset of the Jedi first. There's a certain sense of mastery in your personal life in order to like move objects with your mind, which I think is like, believe it or not, sort of like, you know, in an interesting way, where it's like a Jedi calms their mind, but they also have this very loving, empathetic, compassionate nature. And so, although they don't betray that in the Star Wars movies, it's like, well, obviously, if they have that degree of compassion and empathy for humanity, they have to have it for themselves too. Like, think of how many times they probably failed at lightsaber training or using their mind to move objects, right? It's like being critical on themselves. They never would have succeeded in their training. So it's like, Capricorns, you're still in a space of like learning to work with your thoughts, work with your mind to master the emotions, to not get upset that you're not on top. And, you know, that I think that it's being okay with having like just like the basics met of your life first, and the kind of a Maslow's hierarchy of needs thing, and like really check into that, you know, reality evaluation of that, and then just like keep taking the steps up the ladder as you're doing this mastery work of embedded emotions and taking it to a new level, and just like step by step levitating things. And yes, Pluto's coming into the second that can really help with partnership, creation, money situations, but remember, this is a 20-year transit, you know, Capricorn. And so where the focus of the drill of going deep into yourself about who you are and who you're not in this character growth development, now it's going to be looking at your value systems, you know, how you value other people, you know, like, do you actually have love for the collective in general? And if not, like, where is that going to be this big mirror reflection of where that love is not there for you? The emotions are going to help with the processing. Having a vision of like what loving, fulfilled potential looks like is going to be your guiding star. And then trusting, even if it feels like there's a million steps along the way to get to that, you know, you just go for it, Capricorn. You go and you look at those things. So Aquarius, keep, you know, paying attention to your mental health, Aquarius. I know this has been a big deal. Your emotions, your foundation, they're kind of playing off one another. They understand each other. I wouldn't freak out about if one feels off. It's like, well, I feel good today, but I don't feel crisp in my thinking. I don't feel clear and concise in my communication. Or, oh, like I'm very scatterbrained today and I'm scared in my emotions and they're both not working, or, whichever one's working, not working. It's like, don't try to like be the equalizer that you need to feel and think a certain way. It's like, you're not a robot, Aquarius. This isn't about like being Optimus Prime, style of leadership. You're on step one. You're on step one of like, what did it take for, I've just realized not everyone knows who Optimus Prime is, but it's like the Transformer from the Transformers movies. It's like, how did he become Optimus Prime though? How did he become the leader? How did he get to that? Like, there's no backstory in the movies about that, right? It's like, was he elected by people because of his wisdom and integrity? Probably. So that's what you've been learning since 2008, is like how to captain your very deep spiritual personal reality that matters most to you, even more so than how it matters to others. And that the cadence that I think that you're finding for yourself on how to take that strength of like understanding that you're stepping into leadership position is, sharing and talking about the challenges, past, present, even like the future ones that you see. Because think about it, you've been through a lot, you've got a past, you've got stuff coming up in your current reality that you can talk about, and you're an Aquarius that knows how to see the future. So you can touch on all these different points, but be careful not to make it about, this is what Capricorns were learning about, like the outside world, and that it's more about the outside world's stuck in their past or can't figure out their reality, or they're not going in a good future. They need to figure out these solutions. And it's like, apply that directly to yourself for anything that feels like it's, lingering in those areas, like loose threads where you don't understand things. That's going to be the thing, believe it or not, that bounces out your thoughts and your emotions, and you get head, heart, matching to where your thoughts, your heart set, they're all vibrating in the same place. Is like, don't be afraid to use the reflection of like, what's going on out in the world. Am I seeing it as like some bad, scary thing? And then doing like the reflective work. And so I think you staying stuck is going to look like, let me just like play the same hand that I have. Let me keep hanging on to like my ace in the hole. And it's like, no, throw the ace on the table. That ace is, I am a motherfucking Aquarius. I came here to rock. I came here to be different and unique. And that means that you're a reality disruptor, and then you don't march the beat of any other drum, and you don't even have to listen to this horoscope. But it's like, go and do basically a different tangent of what everyone else is doing. I'm just giving the astrology as a universal tool to be like, well, what are most people not doing? They're not taking responsibility for, actually, it's not the stuff out here. It's actually just how I'm seeing it, and it's the reflection. Or talking about my past lessons as a way to be a service to others, talking about the self or the mindset or the emotions, the vulnerability as a way to inspire others, talking about like, hey, I had this download, this awareness that this is where I see things going, but this is also how I feel it's connected to my reality. It's like, talk about these things, Aquarius, like speak up. The utility in your rebel nature is going to be talking about things that have value to the world, that is basically just different from all this stuff that everyone else is talking about. I think the cool thing, Aquarius, is like, yeah, like maybe you can finally feel like you don't have to play by all the rules, like in order to like be seen, and that you can just, show up and do the things that feel righteous to you. There's obviously still got to play some chess match with reality, but it's like, I wouldn't worry about like, well, I got to follow this TikTok trend, or I got to learn about this new Facebook algorithm. It's like, don't worry about that. Just understand the algorithm of your own mind, your emotions, your mindset, and follow what you've been learning since '08, which is like this spiritual integrity of like how to know, like how to navigate reality, that you're the sign that has been learning that yeah, it's time to let go of the old reality. It's time to let go of the old paradigm. So everything that people say that you have to do in business or that you have to do to be seen, or even just like what integrity looks like, you're shaking and disrupting all of that from the spiritual lessons that you've been learning. And so I would start expressing these things. It doesn't matter, past, present, future, just rock out. And finally, we got Pisces. Well, Pisces, definitely make sure you're paying attention to your value systems. This can be a wild shakeup in those areas, but it's like you don't want to shake it up just based upon your thoughts and just like your moment to moment thinking of like, oh, actually, I value this now, or oh, actually, I value this now, or oh, I value this thing now. It's like you're actually learning to let go of like, I would say like the ambivalence that maybe you sometimes have for other people, and like, because maybe because you're a sensitive feely person, and you know how to like feel others out and stuff, and you know how to like have compassion for others, but also maybe don't always do it for yourself, or sometimes it goes too far the other way and you want to make it all about yourself. And then it's like, well, where are people in this? This is going to be a time to start looking at like, what is the truth? Like, where do you really stand with people? Where do they really fit in, and not like giving too much away and then changing your whole identity because you didn't like this thing or this group of people, or they didn't give enough, or vice versa, where it's like, oh, okay, like I'm just going to do me and like not connect with people. It's like, well, that would be kind of a interesting Hermitville. I mean, I guess it could be really transformative because you have been learning like who's very valuable to actually be a part of your day-to-day life. But I want to go like just like booting people out just on a whim of like a thought. It's like, examine the facts a little bit, see what you're learning, like the lessons, the mirroring, like especially what it's like looking at like on a psychological level. You still need resources to create anything that it is that you want, Pisces. So I would not trip out about this person needs to go, or like, it's like, don't spin too many puzzles, with trying to understand just the past and just like where things are at. I'm kind of, the concern I think I have for you, Pisces, is just making sure that you're seeing things clearly. This is definitely a calling to go within and be with God, which you know how to do really well, but it's also like, don't be afraid to call in the spiritual helpers and the archangels and anything else, and don't feel like you're alone in your empathic, sensitive abilities to have a divine, compassionate, loving nature. And let some of those spirit guides also show you what some of the reality, based lessons are with people, and to know that the idea is, God's ominous, all seeing, right? But like maybe sometimes he's even, busy, and it's like better to, connect specifically with a variation of him, essentially, because we're all aspects of God. Is like Archangel Michael to release a cord with someone, Archangel Raphael to love someone that you're still thinking about from your past sometime, or something like that, and like just use like the spiritual supports and vibrations to like see things clearly. That way you're paying attention when you're like laying the bricks of what you're creating in your reality. Doesn't matter if you do it every day over and over again, every minute, and it feels like you've been getting used to it. It's like the stress comes when you're looking around at just too many different things like going on, or like, how am I going to get this done, or what about people, am I going to get this, I don't know, it's like get this done on time, or it's all over the place, Pisces. I think your best way to manage things is just like, okay, Spirit's got my back, Spirit's going to help me focus. What am I doing? Let me pay attention to the details of like what I'm creating. And as you're creating, and even if it feels monotonous sometimes of what you're doing, that is actually when you can be in this kind of like walking meditative like state, where you can actually get the clarity or the epiphany moments, or the understanding of like, where do people fit into your reality, instead of like needing to know exactly who the team is, like of people supporting you, or the collaborations or trust efforts or whatever it is first before you can do the work. It's like, just do what you already know that you're doing, that's showing up in your reality. Trust the discernment from understanding where people fit is going to be better. I think it would be people pleasing if you try to put the fires out for others first too, as a neglect of yourself, to be like, oh, I'm just like, here's a way to balance out where I feel like I've been an ass or judging people or wanting to boot people out. I'll just, go and do this nice thing, and like that's going to balance my good karma or something like that. It's like, well, but then who's laying the bricks? Who's building and creating the life that you want? Who's manning the ship of your perception of things, helping you see things more clearly on how it doesn't have to be so topsy-turvy with people like that. So anyways, everyone, I appreciate you all. If you want to get a private astrology reading, you can, of course, pop down into that link in that bio. I do couples readings as well. I will leave that link down there. I do Akashic Records channeling. That link's going to be down below. And I also do energy work services. So that's my MO. It's the combination of astrology, of channeling, and energy work. I'm here to help people get basically unstuck, so they can actually go pursue their true desires and not be in emotional and heart jail of these belief systems of thinking reality has to be a certain way. This year is all about kind of like resetting the board, where you don't have to do it the way that you think that you've had to do it in the past. That paradigm is going away. Of course, some things are still going to be the same as, since 2018 or 2019, there's still going to be elements of that playing out, but the big reset is the equalizer is going, okay, well, doesn't matter, lessons, decisions that you've made since 2008 or where you're at now, you can still ascend pretty quickly, just doing the deep spiritual work and honoring the lessons and the growth and the character development. And so sometimes, those things can linger, or stuck energy or misunderstandings, whatever it is. That's what I do with the types of tools, the services that I offer. It's like, let's get you unstuck. Let's get you going, or at least like point those things out if I've only got a limited amount of time with you. Of course, I do coaching work as well, for doing 3-6 month coaching packages to like really help you get unstuck. I do this, both for men and women, to actually get you to the goals, get you to the ambitions that you actually want to meet. Love you all. Thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I will see you in February.